All right, I'm gonna give it to you straight. I just reviewed the Sonos Era 300 speakers. I got a stereo pair and the Era 100s, and I stand by everything I said in that review. I rewatched it, but I wasn't satisfied with my conclusion. So I want to give you some decisive answers. If you're interested in Sonos speakers, I have literally owned them all, every model, including the new Era 300s. The only one I hadn't heard was this, the Sonos 5. So I got it, I listened to it, and now that I've heard every Sonos speakers, I want to give you recommendations for every room size, large, medium, and small size rooms, and if you care about movies, music, or both. Let's start big. If you have a really large room and you want to watch movies, you also listen to music, but you just want the best system possible, and money is no object, you need to get the Sonos Ultimate Immersive Set. What that means is you get an Arc soundbar, 2 Sonos Era 300s as rear speakers, and a Sub Gen 3, that $800 subwoofer. You can't actually do 2 subwoofers in a setup like that. Sonos will connect 2 subs to a system. I think that's a little overkill. I think 1 sub will do just fine. But that Ultimate Immersive Set from Sonos is about $2,500, but it will sound incredible. I tested the Era 300s with my Sonos Arc and Sub Gen 3 setup, the exact setup you see here on Sonos' website, and it does sound incredible. If you have a large room and you just want the best sound experience, get this. In the last video, some people asked if you can use Era 300s as front, left, and right speakers, and Sonos does not allow you to do that. You can only add rear speakers. It counts the Sonos Arc as the center and left and right. There's no way to add an additional left and right speaker in a Sonos home theater setup. But this is the setup if you want just the best sound ever. Get 2 subs if you just want to blow it out of the water. Now, if you have a really large room, but you don't care about movies at all, you just want to listen to music, then I would suggest get 2 Sonos Era 300s. One might do it depending on your room size, but a pair of those will fill even the largest room, and I really like that spatial audio sound. Now that I listen to the Sonos 5, which does not have spatial audio but has a great sound, I actually miss that spatial audio when listening to Dolby Atmos music. So just music in a large room, a pair of Sonos Era 300s, and I would also suggest one of these guys. This is the Sonos Sub Mini. I use this in one of my bedrooms with a Sonos Beam. We'll get to that in a second. But I do think the Era 300s need a little more bass if you want that immersive music experience, especially in a large room. You can get the bigger Sub Gen 3 if you want, that'll sound amazing, but I do think a Sub Mini with a pair of Era 300s would do really well just for music in a large room. So that's movies and music in a large room. Now what if you have a medium-sized room? Maybe it's a large bedroom or a smaller living room and a den. If you're looking for home theater, I honestly think the Sonos Beam does an incredible job. I have the Beam Gen 2 in a larger bedroom with the Sonos Sub Mini. Sounds great, movies and music. If you want that really immersive sound, especially for movies with surround sound, get a couple of Era 100s to use as surround speakers. Overall, you can buy that package together directly from Sonos. You're looking at about $1,400, and that would give you an incredible movie and music experience in that medium-sized room like a bedroom. If you're gonna drop anything, I would drop the surrounds. Just go with the Beam and the Sub Mini. You don't wanna drop the sub. You do wanna drop the bass. What I mean is, I've used the Sonos Arc and the Sonos Beam with TV, like for music and movies. Music it does okay, but for movies, I'm really missing that low end when I don't have a Sonos sub. Yes, the Sub Gen 3 is great, it is $800, but at least get a Sub Mini to make that complete. Now, if you're in a medium-sized room and all you care about is music and not really movies, I honestly think the Era 300s is still a great option. Just one Era 300 and a Sub Mini will actually give you a really immersive music experience. You're still under $1,000. It has spatial audio just from the one Era 300, and the Sub Mini will give you that low end. So for a medium-sized room, if you just care about music, I would go with an Era 300 and the Sub Mini. So what if you have a smaller room? Maybe it's a very small office like I'm in right here, and maybe you don't need that really loud thumping bass. Well, honestly, a pair of the new Era 100s would sound really good. You can get an Era 300, just one, and that'll sound incredible in a small room too. But that pair of Era 100s, especially on a desk setup, if you'd like to get that stereo separation, use that line in with your computer, I think the Era 100s do a great job there. If you want something that does both movies and music, look at the Sonos Ray. It's their most inexpensive soundbar. It still has really good sound. You could pair that with a Sub Mini, although it gets a little more pricey. You can also get a Sonos Ray and 2 Era 100s as surrounds. Maybe if you live in an apartment and too much bass is going to bother the neighbors, then get a Ray and those 2 surrounds, and that would be a great movie and music experience even in a small room. If you just want to get one single speaker for any size room, because you just don't want to buy multiple speakers, just one, get the Era 300. The Sonos Era 300 is probably the best sounding speaker when you just have one of them in a single room. And so that would be the option if you have a small, medium-sized room, or even a large room and you just don't want to spend a lot of money but still get really good sound. That's what the Era 300 is for. Now, I showed this guy at the beginning of the video, and I didn't mention it in any of those setups. And that's because after hearing the Sonos Era 300s and their spatial audio, The Sonos 5, which sounds really good and is a premium speaker, I just miss that immersive spatial audio sound that I get from the Era 300s and even my HomePod 2s. The Sonos 5 does have a little more bass than the Era 300s, but not enough to where you wouldn't need the Sub Mini in a larger or medium-sized room. So who's supposed to get the Sonos 5? I think if you're one of those turntable people and you really love playing those LPs and you have your turntable and you want that line in on your speaker without having to use a USB-C adapter, the Sonos 5 is for you. It is a really good sounding speaker. You can pair two of them together, but I really only think that turntable setup, or if you listen to zero spatial audio and Dolby Atmos music, like all you listen to just has stereo left and right for whatever reason, then yeah, the Sonos 5 would be great. But if you listen to Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon HD, and you have some of those spatial audio tracks, I think getting something with spatial audio is worth it. Sonos still sells the 1 and 1SL speakers, but honestly, now that the Era 100s are out there, I would not recommend getting the 1SL. I do have a pair of 1SLs, they're out on my patio, and they do sound really good, but the Era 300s are a little better. So if you're looking for a pair of something, maybe for an outside patio, get the Era 100s. And the other speakers I haven't mentioned yet is the Sonos Move and the Sonos Roam. The Sonos Roam is Sonos' most inexpensive speaker at about $160. It's battery powered, you can do AirPlay or Bluetooth. It's a nice little speaker, but if you're looking for something to maybe fill a patio or deck area and it needs to be outside, a little weather resistant, I really love my Sonos Move. I just have one of these, although you can pair two of them together, but this sits on a little circular charging base, which is really convenient. This uses Bluetooth or AirPlay too, so you can use it either way you want. I can put this around the pool, I'm not worried about it getting wet, and it really does provide a nice sound. On my patio, I actually have the two 1SLs in a stereo pair and one Sonos Move. I can put this on the far side of the patio and everything is pretty much covered. It doesn't have all the volume that I would like because it is open air in the larger pool area. If people are splashing, you don't hear everything. And when it comes to just outside audio and stuff, love the Sonos Move. It's really great. So those are my recommendations for large, medium, and small size rooms for all the Sonos speakers. I've now listened to every single one. As new models comes out, I'll try those too. I really do love the entire Sonos lineup. They sound great, especially for movies and home theater when you can't run a bunch of cables and you don't want to do in-ceiling or in-wall speakers. The Sonos solution is just really great. And I've been using their app a lot as I've been testing all these speakers, and they've done a great job at that app as well. Now, I didn't mention HomePod in this video, but if you are in the Apple ecosystem and you have a small to medium sized room and you want something good for both music and movies, I still stand by a pair of HomePod 2s. Pair that with an Apple TV, that is another $100 cost, but that is actually a great audio setup in my opinion also, if you're in the Apple ecosystem. But if you want great sound, doesn't matter what ecosystem you're a part of, Sonos speakers are pretty great. You can check out my full review of the Sonos Era 300 speakers here, and I also have a review of the HomePod 2 versus my Dolby Atmos 7.1 home theater, Sonos Arc, and Sonos Beam, all paired with subs. You can check that video out up here as well. Thanks to everyone for viewing, liking, and subscribing to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next video.